Hey everyone, welcome to the 1000 subscriber special, 100th video on the channel. I can't believe we're here. I want to start by saying how grateful I am to all of you for sticking with me on this wild ride. Grixis Control may not be the most competitive deck out there, though you've all shown a lot of enthusiasm for the strategy, enthusiasm that is shared between us 100%. And now I'm seeing the channel grow to incorporate modern Jund content, which is kind of the same deck anyways, in a different format and shape. So my question to y'all at the outset is, do we need an official Pioneer deck for the channel? I'm hesitant to ask about Vintage since like the Jund deck in that format is widely accepted to be bug midrange, and I'm not as interested in playing that deck in Vintage. Maybe Doomsday can be the official Vintage deck for the channel. We'll see. Anyways, let's get on to these wonderful questions. Now, some of you were rather taking the piss with this exercise. I mean, when did I first learn to play Magic? Why are you asking me this shit? But I said I'd answer them all without exception, so here we go. Let's start with this one. My question is, why no more bombs? It was mentioned in the Discord. Highly recommend, yeah. Plug in the Patreon. They are a tool when you need a high power toughness creature in play. Could you elaborate on that? And second question is Hymn to Turok on MTG Top 8. Great website, great resource if you haven't checked it out. The Grixis control lists show players with him. What's your position? I imagine it's good, especially against Eldrazi for raw card advantage. Sure. So, yeah, this one is a little difficult to answer, but in essence, having the biggest creature on board can discourage enemy attacks. And if those creatures aren't attacking, it's almost like they're not there. So, in my head, it feels like pretty massive card advantage. Though, in general, I find going tall with the creature to be a pretty vulnerable position, probably more vulnerable than other like static hate pieces, which these are kind of standing in for, since cards like Swords to Plowshares and the like exist in the format. Nonetheless, there are scenarios where removal is either damage based or CMC based, like Fatal Push. So cards like Gurmag Angler and Murktide Regent are a wonderful gate. Um, and as for him, there's an old theory regarding discard spells and how they are tempo negative since we're taking cards from our opponent before any mana was spent to cast them. Especially against Eldrazi, I'd rather trade mana with my opponent along with the cards, but I do like him against decks that need a lot of resources to function, like Storm or Sneak and Show. So I think it's a great sideboard option these days, or any white control deck that's hoping to like stockpile answers and then wait for someone else to make the first move. Um, all right, let's move on to Bryce. Bryce always asks the best questions. What are a couple of your favorite places to eat in Seattle? So, Amazing Thai is a family run business in the U District. They do incredible work, some of the best Thai food I've ever had. For more of a diner mood, I love Hattie's Hat in Ballard. In fact, I did a lot of the review for this video sitting at a booth there, drinking some tea, which nicely leads into the fifth part of this question. Do you drink coffee? What's your preferred coffee drink? I don't drink coffee anymore. I've found it's like not good for my long-term concentration, much like how I also quit smoking recently. Nicorette now, nicotine gum. Yeah, I do enjoy black tea though. Feels a lot less like of a steep ride. Let's see. Have you ever been to the Columbia River Gorge? I've never been to the Columbia River Gorge. Maybe 2025 is the year for that. And then Horde or Alliance, I gotta go Horde. My first World of Warcraft character was a troll shaman. Everyone hated me. In retrospect, I should have picked a class that's better at a particular thing, since that's really what makes World of Warcraft parties hum. I guess Shaman is a very Grixis control or like Jund esque choice for a WoW class, though, since you get to do like a little bit of everything. All right. Hopefully that was a good enough question. Nightfolk asks, do you own a vast pool of IRL legacy staples, or do you rely more on community/friends for getting access to the cards? I really don't own too many legacy staples. I have a nice swath of older cards, since, as previously stated, I've been playing since around Judgment and Onslaught, but I wasn't really clued in on the competitive aspects of the game until more recently. That said, really broad cards like dual lands, I do own. I do not own any Power 9, although it was really tempting when I was at Eternal Weekend, just like looking at Ancestral Recall in person, less than $3,000. I mean, yeah, it would be a huge investment for me. But seeing it in person, there there's something to behold. So maybe 2025 is the year I get some power too. I was more concerned with getting cards like Ascendant Evancar, stuff like that. I was almost able to transition to Doomsday for very little money for Eternal Weekend. It was mostly new cards I needed for that deck, but outside of that, I can't just like put together like elves or something. I don't own a Gaia's Cradle. That being said, the community in Seattle rules. I'm sure if there was something I really needed, I could borrow it. All right. BDYT asks, beyond gameplay, what aspects of Magic excite you? I've always had interest in Magic's lore. I think their world building team has come up with a lot of compelling characters throughout the years, especially with how each character's motives interact with the color pie. Like how if one character experiences exceptional growth, they might see their color faction expanded or even like narrowed if they become more clear or singular in their mission. So yeah, I'd say Vorthos through and through. Definitely more of a Vorthos than a Spike or a Johnny or a Timmy, really. MRSJ, one of my Patreon subs who we've worked together quite a bit. Um, how do you decide your sideboard? How do you build your sideboard? Could you talk about your decision about each card you pick? And what do you think about Ghost Vacuum? Sideboarding has long been a controversial part of this channel since, first of all, there isn't a stock list, and second of all, my own approaches to each matchup change pretty often. I feel like sometimes it feels like I don't even sideboard the same way twice for the same matchup. It's strange. Grixis Control doesn't really have a proactive plan of its own, and if our opponent is playing an established deck but happens to have like a slight variation, I'd feel bad if someone used a theoretical sideboard guide and it set them up for spectacular failure. I'd rather teach people about the deck so they can decide what tools they want out of their sideboard. In the end, you must be your own navigator if you want results with Grixis Control. If I can put it in plain terms, and this is too aggressive for the point I'm trying to impart, but to put it in plain terms, I think a sideboard for Grixis Control would be missing the point of the deck. And yeah, I think Ghost Vacuum could be a great sideboard card if it makes you feel better about your graveyard or grindy matchups. If it makes you feel better about graveyard or grindy matchups. All right. Moving on here. So many good questions. What do you think it would take for more people to pick up the deck? I'm not sure. Probably just like high profile results. That was kind of the goal when I went to Eternal Weekend. I definitely saw more of an uptick after the weekend. I had back to back top threes in the challenges. I like came in second and then third. I think it appeals to certain people. There's definitely a lot of Magic players that enjoy the gameplay of eking out incremental advantages and having every single card in your hand matter and contribute. I think it's pretty similar to Classic Jund, like I said earlier. You just want every card as versatile as possible, which is why main deck Fatal Push is bad. Anyways, everyone knows I'm just kidding. Main deck Fatal Push is like completely viable. It just like makes me feel not great. All right, Ivan, you're in a desert walking along in the sand when all of a sudden you look down and you see a tortoise. It's crawling toward you. You reach down, you flip the tortoise on its back. The tortoise lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it can't, not without your help. But you're not helping. Why is that? Hey, look, y'all. I'm a freak, but I'm not inhuman. My sense of humor may be very morbid, but trust it comes with a lot of compassion. Oh wait, this is from Blade Runner. I think I mentioned in the last Q&A that sci-fi is one of my bigger blind spots. I should watch Blade Runner. I hear it's really good. All right. What is written on top of the Quentulus Quasgar Mountains in the land of Sevor Bupstri on the planet Prelimtarn, third out from the sun, Zars, in the galactic sector, QQZ, Active J, Gamma? I've never actually been there. So, along with the Columbia River Gorge, 2025 is the year I'll be going to Quentilus Quasgar Mountains in the land of Sevorbupstri, on the planet Prelium Tarn, third out from the sun Zaras, in the galactic sector QQ7, active J, Gamma. Alright. Do all the non-trivial zeros of the zeta function have real part 1/2? I think so. I think someone told me they did. Try taking the integral of that function. You may need to integrate in parts. And then maybe look at the slope too. What is the optimal number of beers to drink if you have 24? Oh yeah, I think someone else. Yeah, 3. Yeah, I'd like to thank Sustenance 6267 for jumping in there with an answer I find pretty reasonable. I feel like 3 beers isn't the point of no return, but you'd certainly have like a buzz. I think I've mentioned in passing I don't drink anymore. It took me a long time to figure that out. I was a heroin addict for years. It's something I'm not ashamed about, and I always want to put myself out there as a resource for anyone struggling with addiction. This is actually a fitting shirt to be wearing. This is the rehab facility I attended and completed. I haven't experienced a lot of overlap between the magic community and recovery, though I'm sure I can't be the only one. So yeah, I don't not condone drinking or anything like that. I work as a bartender pretty often. There's no judgment, obviously. It's not something I find distasteful. I'm just mostly unable to also participate. But I used to drink a lot. I used to be cool. All right. On that note, yeah, I'd like to just close out by saying the community is very important to me, and I'd like to help the community in any way that I can. So I think that's a good note to end on. I think I hit all the questions here. A lot of good comments too. Oh yeah, do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting in the wind, wanting to start again? I do. I do. Um, and I think that was it for the questions. Thank you all for writing in. Oh, I remember on the last video, someone else was like, I see like you have some gear in the background. Are you a musician? I am a musician. My band is called Salt Lick. We play in Seattle maybe like once every 2 months or so. We used to play a lot more pre-lockdown in the pre-COVID years. And apparently our shows are really fun. So come on by, check it out, say hi. My gear is pretty extensive. I've been playing guitar for a super long time, so my main guitar is a Reverend. It's a company out of Detroit. They make kind of like Fender style guitars. Actually, I'll go grab it. Why not show off some fun stuff? Yeah, this thing's great. I bought it with the money I got working at a restaurant in San Francisco. Very sweet. It originally had a single coil pickup in the neck, and then I put a humbucker in there because this knob can roll off the low mids. And sometimes with a humbucker in the neck, things get a little muddy. But if you can take the low mids out, you just get this really full-bodied but still articulated tone. I've also got this sweet Stratocaster made in Mexico, my favorite. They call these the Fat Strats because they have a humbucker in the bridge. This one was getting weird alignment, so I duct taped that sucker in place. Yeah, it's just heavier than most Strats. It's almost as heavy as a Les Paul. This is a Squier precision bass that my godfather got me when I was like 13. Super reliable instrument. And then, by far, the nicest instrument I own is this Martin HD 28P Dreadnought guitar. Not Phyrexian Dreadnought. It's a Dreadnought guitar. Just incredible. I bought this when I graduated from UW, and it's probably the nicest instrument I'll ever own. If you're ever in the market for an acoustic guitar, I really can't recommend Martin more. They make great instruments. Just nice. I guess that's about it. Oh, I do have one more here right now, actually. This is a Les Paul knockoff by a Japanese company called Vantage. Super dark and heavy, a lot of sustain. Very cool guitar. Recommend Vantage too if you can find them. As for amplification, I have a Science amp, which is a local boutique manufacturer. My friend Alex makes them. Super amazing amplifiers. I use that for recording, but for live, I have a smaller 15-watt tube head from Egnator, and I run it through a couple 1x12s, orange 1x12s. And yeah, it's cool. I like it. I want to thank you all again. Thank you so much for sticking with the channel. Hopefully this was a fun Q&A. Kind of got off topic towards the end, but I think people enjoy hearing about that stuff too. And yeah, let's keep on playing Grixis Control, and I hope you'll come along for the ride. All right, see y'all next time.